There is one thing and one thing only that Florida fans should want against Texas A&M.
You are Locked On College Football with Spencer McLaughlin, your daily podcast on all things college football. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Locked On College Football. I'm your host, Spencer McLaughlin, and thank you all so much for making this your first listen or your first view every day. It is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, your daily source to stay up to date with the biggest stories in this, the greatest sport on planet Earth. Illinois does not have a good chance this week. What's going on with Baylor? I don't know of a lot of other comparable situations. All in today's show, which is brought to you by our friends over at Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. So Billy Napier will take the field again, looking for another ranked win. And he couldn't drop Texas A&M out of the top 25 like he did Texas if he somehow pulls off this one in College Station. Florida fans should want one thing, and that is to relive the 2024 game against Texas A&M, but do it on the road. The only way, it appears, because Billy Napier will just win a couple of games here and there, the only way for Napier to not be the Gators head coach in 2026, which if I were a Florida Gators fan would be my goal, would be to do what Mike Gundy did at Oklahoma State. Not that he was trying to, but you need embarrassing moments. The Oregon game, you were not going to win that one, but that was embarrassing. Then you get embarrassed by Tulsa, and that's the straw that breaks the camel's back, and you're done. Billy Napier is obviously capable, with the roster he has, of playing with some of the good teams in the SEC. Now, Texas doesn't look very good, but on paper they are. And Florida, you got to give them credit for what they did last week. But the only way you're going to get the change that you want, the change that you need, is if the number of bad, borderline, or outright embarrassing moments outweigh the number of good positive moments that an administration could use to justify keeping him around. And last year, there were too many that fell into that second bucket. There were too many games at the end of the season that Florida won that looked good and gave the administration confidence Napier could get it right. Now, last year against Texas A&M in the Swamp, Florida trailed 20-0. This was 2 weeks after Miami went into their house and ran them off the field. And the Gators couldn't score on a Miami defense last year, we know now, was not any good. And it was all Hurricanes. That was enough for me to know, all right, this is what you look like in year 3 at Florida. No, this ain't. So they go to Texas A&M this week. And I think Texas A&M is a really good football team. I know they're the butt of a lot of people's jokes. They're a punchline. They're a brand that's underachieved. I get all of that. Do a blind resume test with Texas A&M this year and tell me what isn't impressive about them. They can run it. They can win with defense. They can throw it. They've got an exciting, dynamic player at quarterback. They've got a coach with a proven track record, an offensive coordinator that I like, defensive personnel that's good. And Florida comes to town this week, and our friends at FanDuel have this as just a 6.5-point line. That's it. Now, it took a while for Texas A&M last week to get going against Mississippi State. Eventually, they did and won the game 31-9. That's a Mississippi State offense that's incredibly capable. They could not move the ball against Texas A&M, who have also won a shootout on the road against a Notre Dame team who I still believe is good. They're inside my top 20 because they've got a pair of tight losses by 3 and 1 point to Miami, top 3 team, and Texas A&M, who I have as a top 10 team. So Notre Dame is a good team, and Texas A&M has that win. And Texas A&M beat Mississippi State, who last week I had my top 25. They beat them by 22. So Billy Napier this week, if you're a Florida fan, and by the way, I don't even believe, I was listening to my guy Brandon Olson of Locked On Gators, I don't think Florida fans are in the mindset of they want Billy Napier to figure it out. Like, you've got to bottom out. You don't want to be, in any sport, stuck in neutral. Later on the show, I'll talk about a program that is also stuck in neutral in Waco, Texas. That's honestly the worst place to be. Be so bad that you have to get fired, or be good enough or trending towards a team and a program that can win or at least compete for a conference championship. Florida isn't there. We know that. But this week against Texas A&M is a golden opportunity for Billy Napier to deliver a dud. And if Texas loses to Oklahoma, which, look, it's Red River. We never actually know what's going on. I'll talk about that game later this week. Texas loses that game, suddenly you look and go, well, Texas is not as good as we thought they were, and when we're facing good teams, good stuff isn't happening. You've got a 5-interception game from DJ Lagway at LSU, and this week against Texas A&M, the Aggies could roll big. And if I were a Florida fan, I'd be rooting for it. I'd be saying, boy, I hope Texas A&M is up 20-0 at the half. Heck, I hope it's more than that. Because last year we saw there weren't enough of those moments. Well, stack as many as you can. Here's the good news. If you're a Florida fan that thinks that way, there is every opportunity for Texas A&M, a realistic opportunity that they can do just that. What did I say last week going into the Texas game? If Florida's going to pull the upset, can they run the ball? Can Jaden Baugh get going? What do you know? He goes for 100 yards. DJ Lagway looks better. They win the game. You know what Texas A&M does really well? They stop the run. Opponents this year averaging just 110 yards per game on the ground on this Texas A&M defense that struggled on the road at Notre Dame and has just continued to play better and better and better football. So I think Texas A&M is going to win this game. I think they're going to win it comfortably. And I am going to give what can only be described as a curse at this point and make Texas A&M one of my best bets of the week. According to our friends at FanDuel, they are -6.5. Maybe by the end of the week, I'll change my mind. Tune into the third segment on Friday to find out. But giving up less than a touchdown, man, I think Texas A&M can let this one get away quickly. And I think for Florida's sake, they should actually be rooting for that. And guess what? I think they might be. I think Brandon Olson over at Locked On Gators is. I think some other Florida fans are. Maybe it's too small of a sample size. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below or hit me up on Twitter. All of that good stuff. It's easy. I could come on here and be a hot take artist and say, there's going to be an upset in Champaign, Illinois this weekend. Ohio State, you better watch out. I am not saying that. First, this episode brought to you by PrizePicks. Every day we make decisions, but on PrizePicks, being right can actually get you paid. Don't miss the excitement of this football season with PrizePicks, where it's good to be right. Playing PrizePicks is a fun, simple way to add more excitement to football. You just pick more or less on player projections like Josh Allen's passing yards or Saquon Barkley rushing for a touchdown, and just like that, you're in the game. So if you know who's popping off, you look at the NFL each week and go, boy, I know for certain that Travis Hunter's having a breakout game. Jamar Chase, he was big last week. He is going under this week. Then you can put your knowledge to the test with PrizePicks. Download the PrizePicks app today. Use code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 instantly in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONCollege for $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineups. PrizePicks. It's good to be right. Could Ohio State be on upset alert this week against Illinois? Nope. I can't see it. Jay Stevens, Locked On Buckeyes, is here. I have been a big Illinois fan all offseason, during the season. I stood by them in the tough times against Indiana. Picked them to beat USC because I knew it's still a good team. Here's the problem, Jay. This Illinois team, I've got enough data. They are not that good up front. They are not good enough in the trenches. I think this one could get away from them. I hope it doesn't, because I want it to be close. I want Illini fans to get a great game. It should be an awesome day at Memorial Stadium. It is a generational opportunity for Illinois. It is a huge. I don't think their playoff hopes are on the line in this specific game, But boy, it's a massive opportunity, and man, I just cannot get behind they're going to beat Ohio State.
Spencer, I'm pretty proud of you for not trying to be the guy that doesn't believe it's going to be an upset, but they're still trying to poke and prod and say it can be an upset. But coming out and saying they shouldn't be a team that can upset Ohio State, I think it's the right move, the right opinion to have, because the stuff in the trenches is one thing, but they also aren't the strongest defensively, where Ohio State is starting to figure some things out. Well, I won't say figure things out, more letting Sand be the quarterback he can be. Get the ball to Smith and to Carnell Tate, to Max Clare. Eventually the running game is going to come along, and I don't think it's going to be as strong as a passing attack, but the rushing game is going to be phenomenal. It's going to be strong for the team. Illinois is good. They have home field advantage. That's not enough to overcome what Ohio State's going to bring to Champaign.
No, and according to our friends at FanDuel, Illinois is a 14.5-point home underdog here. I think that's right. We'll see if I make it a best bet and place my curse upon Ohio State later in the week by picking them to cover that number. But when I watched the game against Indiana, they got pushed around. Yeah. USC, frankly, pushed them around quite a bit. They couldn't pressure Jaden Maiava, and their defense got exposed again. Their offense is just good. And that's a little surprising to me, because when you think about Brett Bielema, you think about toughness, grittiness, physicality, winning in the trenches, right? That's kind of what they were last year. That's not what this team is. This is Hank Beatty, who's awesome, getting the ball from Luke Altmaier. They can run it pretty well. They do a lot of things on offense, but Ohio State probably has the best defense in all of college football. I have to give Matt Patricia his flowers. And by the way, I'm wearing this reddish color shirt by complete coincidence today as we do this segment, but I've got to give him his flowers, because that side of the ball, to me, of the two new coordinators for Ohio State, which coming into the year, I was kind of going, can they be as good as last year? I don't know. Two brand new coordinators? One, okay, but two, Patricia's been seamless from the get-go. I think Brian Hartline has been good enough. I think there's a lot more to be desired on that side of the ball. But frankly, this is an opportunity. If Ohio State's offense struggles this week, that would be a concerning sign to me, because of the teams that have moved the ball and the way they've done it against this Illinois defense. Ohio State, I thought Julian Sayin showed some real strides last week against Minnesota, who's a solid team, by the way, and Ohio State beat the crap out of them. I think if Ohio State looks up and wins this game, 20-3 against Illinois, I look up and go, that offense isn't where it needs to be yet to win another national championship.
Call me crazy, and I haven't put my final imprint on my score prediction. I can see this one being 42-3. And that's because of what Ohio State's offense can be, and their defense is traveling. We already saw what the defense did in Seattle, and I think it's going to do the same thing, if not better, in Champaign. I think the offense is the one thing where you mentioned it about Hartline, and you're correct. He's been good enough. Well, good enough is, 40 points against Minnesota? And it could have been more. It could have easily scored 56 or 63. And I'm not trying to be a homer. I'm just realizing a third one call where you call timeout, you end up putting your backup quarterback in for a QB run. Your backup quarterback goes to the wrong hole. If that is a scoring touchdown drive instead of a punt, look at Ohio State getting closer to 50 burger, and people are looking at this team and it's often saying, wow, they're figuring things out at the right time. They're getting hot at the right time. They're not matching the defense's execution, because I don't think anybody can do that. The way the defense is playing right now, they're playing lights out. I've been saying it all the time, Spencer. This defense has been getting very close to me saying this is a very historic defense. I won't say it yet. They've only played 5 games. But if we get into the game 6, 7, 8, 9, and teams are only scoring single-digit in points and they're not scoring touchdowns, that's historic stuff. And that's what we're getting close to saying right now, which is why I don't believe the offense can match what the defense is doing. But they don't need to. If you lean on your playmakers, everything's going to be just fine, including in Illinois, where Illinois' defensive front is not going to get pressure on Sand, which is going to allow these wide receivers to get open whenever they want to.
Well, and that's the interesting thing about this matchup. If Ohio State's defense plays well on the road against this Illini offense, which we know is good, it has been good all year except for the Indiana game. If they do that, then you do look at, that side of the ball and say, what is there a ceiling? Is there a limit to what they can accomplish here? It's one thing to do it at home against Minnesota last week. It's another thing to do it on the road against Illinois. When the Illini's offense struggled against Indiana, I came away going, whoa, this Indiana team, hey, that's something real. That was also in Bloomington. This is going to be in front of what should be a packed house at Memorial Stadium in Champaign. And I do want to talk about Julian Sayin, because to start the year, it was okay. It was what was neat. It was Chipotle, okay? Chipotle serves a very specific purpose. It's solid. It gets the job done. But if you were trying to impress somebody on a date, you're not taking them to Chipotle. You're going to save, you got to have some options as a guy in your back pocket. Now we're getting into a dating podcast. Goodness gracious. And I am the expert. But let me tell you on that. But you got to have some other options in your back pocket. And I started to see that last week from Julian Sayin. But if I'm going to look at Ohio State the way I looked at them last year, I think the defense is right where the defense was a season ago. I think the offense is still a couple of steps behind. That's just how I see it. I'm not saying they can't get there. I'm saying they're not there right now. What have you seen from Ohio State's quarterback?
Oh, my gosh. He's had a phenomenal start. And I think when Ryan Day wanted to kind of ease him into the season, going up against Texas, you don't want to put too much on his plate. I feel like that was a right mindset. I am very critical of Ryan Day, including Brian Hartline, with how the offense has gone. I don't think you go into that game with a very complex game plan for a guy that's never started before against a team that it was the number one team in the country. He had the right game plan. Going on the road to Washington, I think they could have put more on his plate. But Ryan Day said first road game as a starter. It's a hostile environment. It's a very tough place to play. They hadn't lost a game there since, I think, 2021. So Ryan is thinking about all these things that could cause a young quarterback to fail. He hasn't failed anything. He hasn't really made the major mistakes you would think a young quarterback would make. And in game number 5, they were like, hey, let's open up the playbook. They didn't really lean on the run or try to run as much as they had previously. They said, let's get the ball to the playmakers. So he's been phenomenal with the team that's still trying to figure out who they want the lead back to be. I think I know who the lead back should be. I don't think the Ohio State wants to lean into who the lead back should be as far as putting the ball into Bo Jackson's hands. Julian Sayin has been phenomenal. He's been a lot of fun to watch. And I think with how he played against Washington and then how he played against Minnesota, the expectation is for that to continue. Be efficient, maybe standing in there and taking a shot while throwing a dart to Max Clare and showing, hey, I can stand here and take a hit while making the accurate throw that I've made all game long while the pocket has been clean. He has been phenomenal. He has been really surprising because I didn't expect him to play this good this early. And Illinois is going to be the next team to get hit by the Julian Sayin show because this is a fun show to watch. He's a very accurate passer. He processes very well. He knows what he's saying on the field, and that is translated in the conversations he has with Ryan Day on the sideline. I can go on and on about Julian Sayin because this young man has been better than advertised.
I think he could be in for a real breakout game this week. I really do. This Illinois defense, the secondary in particular, they've struggled. And I think Ryan Day and Brian Hartline, here's a golden opportunity to give him a serious confidence booster. But I'm not making my score prediction just yet. It's too early in the week for that. But, yeah, I kind of like Ohio State big. Jay Stevens, Locked On Buckeyes, great, as always. We're going to Waco next. Are we going to have a coaching vacancy? Are we going to have a Big 12 championship team? Nobody knows. No one has any idea. We're going to try and figure all of that out. First, this episode brought to you by Game Time. College football is back, and I couldn't be more excited. I love it every week. The tailgates, the rivalries, the energy in the stands, there's nothing like it. But going to the game can be more of a battle than the game itself. Endless queues, hidden fees, prices jumping at checkout. That's why you want to use Game Time, the app that gives the advantage back to fans. It's the easiest way to score last-minute tickets at the best prices with no surprise fees. What you see is what you pay. Perfect example. I'm going on a trip to Las Vegas this weekend with my brother. Looking around, all of a sudden I saw this ad one place. John Mulaney's in town. I love John Mulaney. He is hilarious. I go to the show on Game Time. I look at the seats that are available, and I got a screaming deal, saved me hundreds of dollars. We're going to have a great view. I knew exactly what to expect. The tickets are on my phone as we speak. Game Time is the way to go. Take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. This episode also brought to you by our friends at Square. Your favorite neighborhood spots? Yeah, they run on Square. There are certain businesses that make the neighborhood the neighborhood. There are those places that become an extension of home, whether it's the sports bar dedicated to your team's fan base, the spot with the best wings in town for game day, or that beloved local chain that's been rooted in your community for years. These businesses are what bring people together. And when neighborhood businesses thrive, the whole neighborhood thrives. You've probably used Square without even realizing it. I've used it many times, and I wasn't thinking about it. Then afterwards, I realized, wait a minute, that was a super easy way to pay for what I need. Wow, this has got to be good for the business. It's good for me. Square is a proud partner of more than 4 million neighborhood businesses around the world. You can go to square.com/go/lockedoncollege to learn more. But before you do, go support your favorite neighborhood spot. You'll be happy you did. Square. See you in the neighborhood. Baylor won over the weekend. You wouldn't know it if you saw clips of Baylor fans going around because they weren't really there to see it. Some of them, it appears, left early. Cam Stewart of Locked On Baylor is here. Cam, are we about to have a coaching vacancy in the Big 12? Because Baylor has to have the most apathetic fan base for a 4-2 football team in the country. You know how many programs? Colorado would love to be 4-2 right now. Florida would love to be 4-2 right now. Baylor's 4-2, and everyone's like, Bob Barker and Happy Gilmore. This guy stinks. What is happening in Waco?
Well, to add to that, too, of like all those teams that would want to be 4-2, like you look at Baylor historically, like before the last 15 years, and like many Baylor fans before that time would cut off all their limbs to be 4-2. Like that just didn't happen. And still, I mean, post Art Briles era, it's not an automatic you're going to be 4-2 every year. But it just like there's just no energy around it, Spencer. There's no juice there for a team that's not only 4-2 but has a top 20 offense in America. Like there's just it doesn't have the excitement. So even in the point where you're coming back, it's your second 14-point fourth quarter comeback in the season. I don't know that anybody else has done that in America. And there was almost nobody there to watch by the end of the game against Kansas State. So it just all comes down to the juice, and this defense stinks, and that's Dave Aranda's specialty. Like, not only was he banned the use of the term DG on my show, but let's say defensively minded guy coming into the job. That's what he was supposed to be. He was one of the best defensive coordinators in the country. And then last year he takes over play calling duties himself, and the defense just gets worse. It's so bad when you look at the metrics. 107th in points per game allowed, 113th in rushing yards per game allowed, 128th in rushing first downs allowed per game, Spencer. They allow 11 first downs on the ground every game. Think about that. 11 every game. That's a lot, man.
It seems like a lot, seeing as how a team in a game typically has, 15 to 20 first downs or so?
Roughly. Yeah. Over
half of them are gained running the football. That's not good.
Yeah, it's not great.
No.
So because of that, there is this negative energy, I guess. And look, I'm there too, man. Like I've set an ultimatum. If this team doesn't win 9 games, I'm back out on Dave Aranda. Like I've said that myself. But yeah, it feels like the life is being sucked out of you, even when they have somewhat major win. Like Kansas State is not the Kansas State we thought they were going to be, but a major win of coming back from 14 down in the fourth quarter to win, like that's a big deal. It It hasn't felt that way. There's always feeling like there's something missing here, and it always, I think, in a lot of minds of a lot of Baylor fans, and certainly in my mind a lot of times too, it comes back down to the head coach.
Yeah, and it's just strange. I don't know that there's a comparison for Baylor nationally right now. I really don't.
Probably not.
You know, you think about the team they lost to in week 1, Auburn. Hugh Freeze has got legitimate pressure to win the rest of the season, and justifiably so. But the results the last couple of weeks have been bad for Auburn. And for Baylor, it's not. So 1 to 10, 10 being I would bet this month's salary that he'll no longer be the head coach. Where is Dave Aranda's hot seat right now?
Honestly, it's like a 3, which is surprising.
That's bizarre.
When you have the pulse of the fan base, it's very surprising. But I just don't think this administration's going to move on unless it gets catastrophic. Spencer, 2 years ago, in year 4 of Dave Aranda, they were 3-9. They were horrible. They were one of the worst teams in all of the Power 4. And he didn't get fired then. And they have, like, again, you look at the numbers, man. They've won 10 of the last 13 games. You know, there's still some positive momentum. It's then becoming they're not as good as they should be, mainly because of Dave Aranda's main focus in the game of football is what's holding them back. And then that doesn't get a coach fired at Baylor, I don't think. And you look at their schedule in the Big 12, and it's an ultra competitive conference, but with that offense they still have every opportunity in the world to be 8-4. Back-to-back 8-4 coaches don't get fired. So it might not even be the right move, but I don't think he gets fired. I don't. I think it's a very low chance. But who knows? Maybe he'll just want to rekindle that UCLA.
Would 6-6 cause him to pull the plug? Like missing a bowl game at this point certainly would, right? Because that means you're going.
For sure.
What would that be? 2-6 down the stretch. But I think Baylor is too good to do that. But you and I talked about him coming into the season, and I'm typically pretty down on teams that start slow and then they figured it out. You know, again, Florida was that team. Everyone's like, they figured it out at the end of the year. I'm like, I don't know. Does the start of the year not count? You know, Baylor was 1-3 last year.
2-4.
2-4. 2-4, won 6 in a row down the stretch. And I'm like, well, 6 in a row is great. That's a reason to not fire the coach. But to feel like, they're a conference title contender is, I don't know, because I struggle to trust what the coaching staff is going to put on the field, because they were the architects of the 2-4 start. Like that was the thing that happened. Well, once they made the change to Sawyer Robertson. Well, now that I've seen DeQuan Finn and Sawyer Robertson, Cam, how in the world was Sawyer Robertson ever not the starting quarterback? It's just one of those things that I don't know that you can really put a fine point on or explain, which is kind of the summary of this entire segment so far.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Like that's, I mean, you make a great point. Like we saw it the year before too, with Neil Brown at West Virginia.
Yes.
Right. He goes 9-4 and all of a sudden it's all good, man. Job saved. And then the next year it's 5-7 or 6-6 and he's done. He's canned. And I remember saying that after last year and hand up, like I was very excited about this year. I had some really high expectations. That's what it kind of comes down to for me. But I did remember saying, like, be wary. Like, we just saw this with Neil Brown. It might not always end well. Like, it's not just like sunshine and rainbows now. But the thing that I pointed out, again, with the second time this year, they've had a 14-point fourth quarter comeback. Like, maybe this is just the cynic in me, but I'm like, that to me almost reflects poorly on the coaching staff. Because we see a top 20 offense. We know they've got NFL guys and Sawyer and Josh Cameron and Michael Trigg and potentially Bryson Washington down the line. Like they've got NFL guys on this roster. You know it's on one side of the ball, but you know there's a ton of talent there. And to me, that's like, okay, they have enough talent and enough fight to come back in these games, but they don't have the game plan to get ahead in these games. Like they're down again. It was SMU was the other one. And they were down all night to Auburn, and they were fighting back all night against Arizona State. And, they made that second game close, that Arizona State game close, but That's like kind of fitting the definition of players win games, coaches lose them. You've heard that adage all the time. Like that is kind of what it feels like to me. It's like, can we not fall down 14 in the fourth quarter? Can we have a better game plan week to week? Answer's been no.
You know what?
And again, it just doesn't help when the guy, like I use Dave Aranda sound bites like almost every day on the show, and I screen record at full volume, and still you can't hear him coming out through the speakers, man. Like that doesn't help when that's your personality and fans are still trying to figure out what you do well halfway through the season in year 6.
You know what it reminds me of? I'm a Pacific Northwest guy. I'm a big Seattle Seahawks fan. Pete Carroll, for the last 5 years of his Seahawks tenure, wasn't actually a great coach. The defense was faltering. There was just kind of a magical element, and my experience is going to help me win these close games. But are we building a great football team? No. Are we building a good one? Yes. Are we going anywhere? Probably not. We might get into the playoffs. If we do, we're not winning more than one game, if that. And we have a lot of magical comebacks in the fourth quarter. And you know what the Seahawks eventually said after, I think a winning season, if I remember correctly? Yeah, we're going to go in a different direction. And they've got a better coach now in Mike McDonald. Like, I wonder if Baylor...
Can I give you another one? Can I give you a college one?
Yeah.
And it looks better now, 4 years later. It was kind of in limbo there for a bit. But in 2021, Texas Tech fired Matt Wells when they were 5-3.
Hey, there you go.
And, I think part of it was they were seeing what's coming up on the horizon and they needed a different kind of coach, but they were also just like, this isn't us. Like, we're not 5-3. Like, we're not gonna win 8 or 9 games this year, and the recruiting's not going well. Like, we don't have something sustainable here. And they went and they took a big plunge to get Joey McGuire, who had never been even a coordinator in college football. He was
going pretty well,
and it's going pretty well.
The
money helps too.
Yeah, it does.
It is going well. He's gotten these guys, and they look like one of the very best teams in the country. So it is going well. Yeah,
I think that's a great example. And the other side of the coin, and I'll close today's show with this, is if you move on from Dave Aranda, you risk the Florida situation with Billy Napier. Was Dan Mullen losing games? No. He just wasn't winning at the level that you wanted it to. And then what happened? You said, we have a higher standard, and now you are worse and have been worse since he got there. And I think they're going to fall to 2-4 come Saturday. So one of the more unique situations in all of college football, presented by Cam Stewart of Locked On Baylor. Appreciate everyone listening. I will see you next time. And until then, hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day.